Hello everybody, and welcome to Morris Brosette Nutrition and Coaching. Tonight I'm going to teach you how to make one of my new favorite recipes, Italian quinoa with kale, garlic, tomatoes, and cooked in some nice natural coconut oil. This is one of my new favorite ingredients. One of my clients actually gave me a fresh batch of oregano a couple of weeks ago, and I had really never cooked with oregano before and had no clue what to do with it. I got into this quinoa making kick, just trying all sorts of recipes and things to make with quinoa, and I said, well, why not try some oregano? I wanted pizza one day, and I didn't want to eat pizza. I wanted to try to eat a little bit healthier, so I thought, well, I've got garlic, I've got fresh oregano, I've got tomatoes, and I've got kale. So why not try to make something that's kind of like a pizza, but not really a pizza, and a whole lot healthier. And the Italian quinoa and kale pizza was born. So let's get to it. So what I use first, I don't like to cook with a lot of times like canola oil. Canola oil is usually rancid by the time it gets on the shelf. A rancid oil promotes inflammation, which promotes disease, and a whole lot of other problems with canola oil. It's just not very good for you at all. I like to use coconut oil instead. I use coconut oil in replace of butter, in replace of other oils. The great thing about coconut oil is that it actually acts like a carbohydrate. It helps you to absorb nutrients better. They actually use coconut oil in hospitals to treat malabsorption. So they give this to premature infants, they give it to elderly people, and actually coconut oil, for those of you new mothers, is the primary ingredient in baby formula because it helps you absorb the nutrients of the foods that you eat. So everything that we're going to make tonight and that I'm going to show you, and all the benefits of the foods that I tell you about, you're going to absorb those nutrients better because you've used coconut oil cooking with it. So what we'll do is we'll start out with about, and you can use a little bit less, you can use a little bit more, but I like to use about a teaspoon to a tablespoon of coconut oil. And coconut oils, you can use it as a kind of high heat, or it's actually a better medium heat oil. So turn your skillet not on real high, but about medium heat, and just kind of get it nice and melted in your pan. Now, what you don't want to do anytime you're cooking with any type of oil, you can also cook with olive oil. I just choose to cook with coconut oil. If you do cook with olive oil, make sure that it's not extra virgin olive oil. Extra virgin olive oil is made more for salads and cold things. It's not really good to cook with. What you want to avoid is the oil starting to smoke, because anytime the oil starts to smoke, it's beginning to oxidize. Oxidation causes free radical production, leads to inflammation, and inflammation ultimately leads to disease, which we don't want. So getting the coconut oil kind of hot for us, and then first thing we're going to do is saute our garlic. Okay, and again, we don't want to get it too terribly hot, just enough. And the thing with garlic sautés pretty quickly. It takes about 2 minutes to saute the garlic. You want to keep it stirring, keep it moving, because you don't want it to burn. Right? Now in this recipe, you can feel free to use a couple of garlic cloves, 1, 2, or 3. I really like the taste of garlic. My girlfriend likes the taste of garlic. We like each other a lot, so we're not concerned with scaring each other off if we smell like garlic. So, we use more. There are a lot of great benefits to cooking with garlic and using garlic in ingredients. Garlic is actually a very, very strong natural antibiotic. It's actually been shown in some studies to be a stronger antibiotic than penicillin. And so, if you have kids, if it's cold and flu season, if you're out in public a lot, like myself and my girlfriend, we're both personal trainers. We work in a gym, which is just a petri dish of germs and other bad things that can get you sick. You want to try to boost your immune system as much as possible, and garlic is a great way to do that. So, again, it takes about 2 minutes to get it sauteed. You don't want to burn it. You don't want it brown. You just want it nice and soft, and you'll start to smell it. You'll start to see it. It'll get a nice smell to it. If it starts to brown a little bit, that's fine. So we'll do that, and again, we put in about 4 to 5 cloves. All right. Now with this, what I'm about to add into it is 1 bunch of kale. Now there are a couple of different varieties of kale. This is actually called dinosaur kale. It's a long stem leafy kale. It is a lettuce. It's a green. The great thing about kale is it's full of antioxidants. Okay. It's full of vitamins A, C, and K. Vitamin A is really important to help against macular degeneration, which helps prevent your eyes from losing vision. It's also very important and very high in vitamin K. Vitamin K is really essential for bone growth, bone mineralization, and also helps protect against certain types of cancers. It's also high in vitamin C. Okay? So once we get that in there, once we get the kale in, I basically turn the heat off. Because again, it doesn't need to steam or saute for very much. You can see in the pan, it's been in there for about, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds, and it's already done. Okay? So, give that a quick stir. Just let all that get in there. And again, this is 1 bunch of kale. And I don't know if you guys have ever sauteed broccoli or steamed broccoli or something like that. You know, if you take a lot of broccoli, not broccoli, but if you take a lot of spinach or a lot of kale or any leafy green and you cook it down, it's going to reduce down quite a bit. So don't be afraid to use a lot of this, because we all need to incorporate a little bit more green into our diet, I'm sure. So what I've done is I went ahead and made the quinoa. Now quinoa is an interesting grain. Quinoa is actually the only grain that's a complete protein. It contains all 9 essential amino acids, so it is a complete protein. It's very high in calcium, potassium, magnesium, iron, and a lot of other key nutrients. The great thing about quinoa, aside from what I just told you, is that it cooks in about 15 minutes. And everybody knows that brown rice is really good for you, right? Well, brown rice takes a lot longer to cook. It takes about 45 to 50 minutes to cook. Quinoa takes about 15 to 20 at most to cook. And the great thing about quinoa is it takes on the flavor of whatever you add to it. So if you want to have Italian quinoa, if you want to have any other type of herb with quinoa, like we do one where we use rosemary, it takes on that flavor. It's a very, very versatile grain, so it'll take on whatever flavor you want. So just add the quinoa in, stir it up a little bit, and then I'm going to add some fresh chopped cherry tomatoes, just again to give it a little bit of an Italian kick. Because what would a pizza be without some tomato sauce? So I just stir that in there. Now, I didn't have to cook these down because the heat of the quinoa that's freshly cooked and the heat from the sauteed kale will soften and kind of cook the tomatoes. Right? Now, last thing I'm going to do is just salt it a little bit, and I don't like to give like a teaspoon here, a tablespoon there. Just really, you could season these things to whatever your palate likes. So I don't encourage that you use a lot of salt, so try to use other ingredients. Like I used dried oregano tonight just because the store was out of fresh oregano. So we like the taste of oregano. It's actually very strong and a very powerful herb to use. So you can use a little bit, you can use a lot. What I recommend you do is start with a little bit, and you can always add more. Okay? So in the first time you make this, don't expect it to turn out perfect. It might take you a couple of times to get it just the way you like it. So when you start to make these recipes, just be very patient, okay? Because it's going to take you a little bit to get used to it. The last thing I'm going to add is cayenne pepper. Now, this little spice is an amazing superfood. The great thing about cayenne pepper is that it increases your circulation. So it's great for your circulatory system. Cayenne pepper has actually been shown in studies to kill cancer cells in your lungs and the prostate and colon. It's actually also a very rich source of vitamins A, vitamin C, the B complex vitamins, and it's really high in potassium and calcium. There's also been studies that show that cayenne pepper taken in a teaspoon with a cup of hot water has shown to stop heart attacks within 30 seconds. So there's a lot of benefits and a lot of health benefits to every ingredient that's in this in this dish. So it's not just tasty, it's healthy for you as well. Okay, so just stir all that up. Now, I told you how fast we cook the quinoa, right? It takes about 15 minutes to cook. The way you make quinoa is you would take a quarter cup of dried quinoa, put it in the pot, and you would add a cup of water to that. And again, you really don't have to worry about measurements too much. Basically, the easiest way to do it is if you're trying to make a large portion of quinoa, I would just pour it in the pot, like I just poured it in the pot, and then I put about a ½ inch of water over the top of it. And that's all I do. That's how I make it every time. I never really use a measuring cup, just because it's a lot easier. From there, you turn the heat on high, bring it to a boil. Once it starts to boil, you simply turn it down to simmer, cover it for about 15 minutes. And then once the liquid's gone, it's ready. It's very, very simple. Again, it takes about 15 minutes to make. If you can boil water, you can make quinoa, because that's all you have to do is boil it and turn it off. Now, the other thing to know, when you're cooking with any type of grain, be it quinoa, brown rice, if you're using a millet recipe, anything like that, is you need to have the grains soaked, right? The reason you soak the grains prior to eating them is because they contain what we call an anti-nutrient called phytic acid. Phytic acid actually blocks your body from absorbing nutrients. It blocks your body from absorbing calcium, iron, magnesium, and zinc. So all those key nutrients that you need, your body can actually the phytic acid can actually block you from absorbing that if you don't soak it. There are companies that make sprouted grain quinoa, but the easiest way to do it is just, if you know you're going to make quinoa on Tuesday, Monday evening, just put it in a pot or a bowl, put room temperature water over the top of it, again about an inch over it, put about a tablespoon of sea salt on it, cover it with a cloth, and just let it sit overnight. The next day, take it out, drain it, rinse it really well. You've eliminated that phytic acid. It's really that simple. Then it's ready to cook. So, we have that all ready. We've salted it, we've seasoned it, and it's taken no time to make. So all this process that I just made, and I probably just made, if you come in and get a good look at this, I made enough quinoa for myself and my girlfriend, for several days. I eat a lot, so for most people, this might be for enough quinoa for about a week. But for me, this is going to last 3 to 4 days. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you liked it. Again, it's really simple to make. If there's one thing I want to try to drive home to you is when you cook, like I said before, expect for some things to go wrong. The first time you make it, maybe the first 2 times you make it. Just take your time, explore the recipe, explore the ingredients, add just a little bit. You can always add more, okay? The biggest part about cooking that I find people have difficulties with is they don't want to mess it up. Okay, so if you go into it kind of expecting to screw it up a little bit, you're going to be fine. All right, you might find out it turns out perfect the first time, and now you've got your ingredients. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you enjoy it when you make it. If you have any questions, please visit my website, morrisbrosettnutrition.com, or you can visit my Facebook page at Morris Brosett Nutrition and Coaching. Thank you.